Hey guys, in this video we're going to do something a little different that I haven't done too much on the channel before, and that is review the Shadows of Change DLC for Warhammer 3. Now I know a lot of you have probably already watched loads of videos regarding this topic, talking about the price, the content we are getting for it, and so on and so forth. And talking with some of you on my Discord and multiple Discords rather, I've decided to kind of make my own video and just shed some light on it with my personal opinions and what. Now, I'm not going to try and make this be a negative video. I just kind of want to state my thoughts and be as unbiased as possible. I am excited for it. I can, say that just from my personal standpoint on it. It looks interesting. I like the fact that we are getting 3 lords. However, there are just some other things that I am concerned with. I'm not necessarily, again, saying, though, that they are bad. It's just something that, in talking with others, that I've kind of come up with, that I'm kind of on edge about, that I'm not really sure which way it's going to go. But again, I'm going to do my best in this video not to kind of sound like I'm leaning towards one way or the other. It's just kind of stating what I think, how I think it could go or may go, but ultimately how I hope it actually does go. But anyway, so obviously the first thing that really needs to be addressed is obviously the price. Now I know, again, a lot of you have already seen videos talking about it, that it's outrageous compared to things we've been getting in Warhammer 2 and so on and so forth rather. And I totally get it. I mean, without the 10% sale, through September 7th, I mean, $24.99 is pretty outrageous. It's about 40% of the base cost of Warhammer 3 itself, and that's not even changing multiple aspects of the game. It's reusing some. If we scroll down here, just in the description of the DLC and whatnot, there are several things that are being reused, and that's totally okay. With the Changeling is using basically the Skaven mechanic, the Undercity mechanic, and that's totally fine. I don't have a problem with them reusing things. It's just in terms of what they're using has to justify the price and whatnot. And now I know the developers and whatnot don't have any say in that, but as a company as a whole, they have to keep this in mind, that people want to, be rewarded for what they're paying for. Same with like the Jade Dragon. Looks like he has a little bit of things that are a little bit changed from what the regular Cathay Lords have and whatnot. And obviously Mother Ostanka or Stankia has her own little mechanic with the Witch's Hut, which is great. It could work how some things have already kind of been implemented, and that's totally fine. But the really big thing is, in terms of this price, is what has Creative Assembly up to this point done that would make people be okay with this price. And really, I think for myself personally, I think the big one is, or several big things, is just the lack of sense of urgency or patches that have come with Warhammer 3. There seems to be no sense of urgency in terms of fixing issues that have been in the game since the release of Warhammer 3 that have been going on for well over a year now. They don't seem to be really listening to feedback by any means, and we haven't even seen really any news regarding Warhammer 3 other than the roadmap that was back in May, I believe. So we're going on almost 3 months and we haven't heard a thing about Warhammer 3. Now we have had the developer updates for the known bugs and whatnot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be fixed, and it even says that in that description of the bugs and things that they're aware of, and it says that they're aware of it, but it may not actually be taken care of. And so I think that is definitely one reason why people are a little more skeptic about it. Me personally as well, is because if I were to purchase this DLC for I guess if I would do the pre-order and get it for even $22.50, what evidence does any player have really that, okay, if I buy this DLC and it's super buggy, things don't work, how can I expect a reasonable patch to fix these things? Because we really haven't seen that in Warhammer 3, which really kind of comes back to the second thing that I kind of want to address with this is just the overall lack of communication. Other than the developer diaries and things that they in the roadmap, again, we have not heard anything about what they're really doing with it. And if you compare that to other games like Diablo 4 and Baldur's Gate 3, I know I've referenced that a lot in some streams in regards to Warhammer and comparing companies and games and whatnot. Diablo 4 with Blizzard and Larian Studios with Baldur's Gate 3 have done a fantastic job in communicating with their community about what they can expect, whether it's just basic, updates to the game on Steam, early access for extended periods of time up to the release of the game, whatever it may be. They're getting more people involved into the game. That way, I think anyway, when it comes to the price of the game, people don't feel as what's the word I kind of want to use? They don't feel as abused, I guess, with the price, or they're not feeling like they're being price gouged because they know what they're getting. They know if something is wrong with the game, the respective companies are going to take care of what they need to take care of to make sure it's a better experience for the player. And we just haven't had that with Warhammer. And so I think all those things, whether the lack of urgency, the lack of patches, and the lack of communication, really for me kind of makes this price worrisome. Not necessarily the fact that it's $25, but just the fact that if something is wrong, what guarantee is there that it's actually going to be addressed? Because again, we just haven't really seen that. And with that price, another thing that I'm more worried about is that we could run into another Three Kingdoms situation where people are skeptic because of the things that we've already talked about in the video, and therefore they don't pre-order it, and then that is then used as a reason to potentially even cancel Warhammer 3 in terms of further DLCs and continuing the game. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. Warhammer 3 it's a good game. I think the community is still there to play it and support it, but at the same time, the community overall is, I think this is the time to try and send a message, to Creative Assembly, in terms of the executives, the higher ups, where this is not okay, because we know that we haven't been getting any serious feedback, I guess, or work done on the current state of the game, other than being told that, hey, we know these are the issues, and that's it. Like, we're not being told this is going to be fixed in this patch, this is going to be fixed in the next one. It's just like, oh, like, we have a list, we might get to it, we might not, and that definitely does not make me want to pre-purchase, let alone just straight up buy a DLC for any game for that matter, because there's no guarantee that it's actually going to be in a good state when I do own it. And so hopefully that wasn't too negative. I'm not trying to, again, sound negative about it, whether or not you should buy it or you shouldn't buy it. That's not the point that I'm trying to get across in this first part here. It's just, I'm just wanting to get my point and my perspective on it as to, other than what you're getting, like, physically from the DLC, the lords, the mechanics, the heroes, the extra units, but what is on the other side of that? What is the company gonna do for the game if it doesn't turn, if it is buggy, that kind of thing. So hopefully I did a okay job in terms of not sounding too biased and whatnot. But lastly here, I just want to talk about things that I think that could be done in order to kind of make this price not feel as bad in terms of price gouging for players. And really what it comes down to is Creative Assembly just has to make this price worth it. I get inflation is a thing, in the right now, especially with how the economies around the world are doing and whatnot, and they're a business, they're trying to make money. I totally get it. Every company, every business anywhere wants to make as much money as possible with with the tiniest amount of work put in, or the least amount of work put in. That way they maximize profit. Totally get it. But they just have to have something behind it. Like them charging this kind of price with nothing behind it is just like a government printing money. Like, there's nothing backing it, so it makes it utterly worthless. And so really what I think could be done and kind of needs to be done is that when feedback is given, whether it's positive or negative, you can't just focus on the positive aspects of a DLC, or in this case Warhammer 3. They got to take into consideration both sides. That way they can make the correct adjustments. And now I know content creators, the community, we've all been trying to get feedback, and with that, they just need to start listening more. And with that, getting more patches out sooner, communicating that, hey, we are aware of this and we're actually actively working on this right now. We have those issues, we're working on them because we know it's making a negative impact on your gaming experience, and we want to take care of that. Getting that confirmation that we know this is a problem, we're working on it, we want to fix it because we want a better experience for our community there. Another one is with how times have changed in terms of the gaming industry. I really believe that early access needs to be sooner. Now, I know there's a whole lot of detail that goes into early access, not releasing things too early or someone spilling the beans, that kind of thing and whatnot. But I really believe the hush-hush type of early access is not effective anymore. It does not work. People do not like it. People want to know what they're buying and what they're going to get out of it. They don't want to just write a blank check and be like, take my money, I'll take what I can get. Like, people want to know what they're going to get for it. And this waiting into the very last minute for, giving the community answers to their questions, or just the lack of specific details on what they're actually working on, what they're fixing, what they're aware of. People just aren't about it. And so I think that plays a really big role in terms of people not being okay with the price, other than the fact that it is $25 US here in terms of the currency. And so I think if people were able to get their hands on the game sooner, or a DLC sooner, whether it's content creators or the community as a whole, and we've seen other companies do this, where it's like a free weekend where you can play, hypothetically, right, say you could play up to 30 turns in the Shadows of Change on normal difficulty, or whatever it may be, 20 turns, whatever, it's hypothetical. But you get my point, where it's people are getting their hands onto it. They can see how the mechanics are going to work. They can see how the lords are going to work. They're going to see how things are just going to change with that lord being implemented in the base game. And that way, if any bugs pop up that they may not be aware of, or things that aren't working, or whatever it may be, or glitches, whatever, they have time to fix it before it's actually released, in this case on August 31st. But we just don't have that. And so I know there's a lot of detail that would need to go into it to make that happen, but I really feel like that could be a really good way in terms of working out some of these bugs and glitches and things not working the right way on release, when we could have, gotten rid of those before the release of the game. That way then too, once the DLC, once the DLC is released, or in the future a new game is released, that way you don't have to worry about those tiny minor little bugs that are super annoying, that people are like, okay, like, it's not game breaking, but it's really annoying that this isn't working correctly, or that's not working correctly. It's already been taken care of. You don't have to worry about it because you've already addressed it in early access way before the release of the game. And lastly, what it really, I know all of it kind of sums it up here in this last point, but the DLC just has to be worth the price in terms of, what you're getting in it, and in terms of lords, heroes, mechanics, new units, whatever it may be. Even cosmetics, if you want to get down to the way bottom side of it, even cosmetics. But really, I think with this kind of pricing, you got to have all those things, plus the communication with the from the company to the community, and making those patches and fixing bugs an urgent matter, especially upon early release. We still haven't seen any really major patches since, I believe, the Chaos Dwarf DLC, and that's been months, and we just haven't seen anything. And so it's really just something that I feel like is really easy to change by devoting more resources to Warhammer 3, because Warhammer 3 is still in a very early part of its life. It should be in the prime of its life, and it's just on that kind of go either way right now, where it could be really great, it could be really bad, and they just get rid of it altogether. But hopefully those are just some things that I've kind of seen talked about and kind of put my little twist on it, where I think these are pretty simple changes that could be made by Creative Assembly to just make the higher price DLCs, make the game more desirable to people, and that way people don't leave to say go play Baldur's Gate 3 or Diablo 4 or down the road Starfield and never come back to Warhammer because they're just not, they're not sticking with their game. Basically, they're releasing content, they're saying, hey, give us your money, but we're not going to do anything to fix it. We just want your money, and that's not okay. But anyway, I hope that wasn't too negative. I hope I was as unbiased as I could without trying to sound, don't do this, do it. I'm not saying that by any means. I'm just trying to voice my opinions here. But definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Whether you're excited for it, if you are excited, what you're worried about, if you are worried about it, all that kind of stuff. I do enjoy and getting your guys' feedback so I can know more, so I can get more perspectives there. But don't forget to leave a like, guys, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you later. Bye.